and welcome back to Breaking Ground on iPropertyRadio with myself, Carol Tallon. You can contact us on social media at iPropertyRadio or email hello@iPropertyRadio.com. So this week on Breaking Ground, I chat to Pat Kerwin, Head of MMC Delivery at C&W O'Brien Architects, to talk about an exciting new development in the MMC, or Modern Methods of Construction space in Ireland. Pat, you're very welcome.
Thank you, Carla. Apologies for the noise in the background. We're here at the offsite show as part of the UK Construction Week in London. So, we're
very good.
Okay.
Pat, that means you're definitely well placed to talk about what we want to talk about today, which is the establishment of a new body in Ireland for offsite and other methods of modern construction. That's MMC Ireland. I know the website is mmcireland.ie. So tell us a little bit about MMC Ireland. What is the body?
The body's really essentially it's a representative body for manufacturers, those that specify, procure, and construct the various forms of modern methods of construction across the various spectrum, from precast concrete right up to volumetric construction. So basically, we're advocating on behalf of the body or on behalf of the industry in order to essentially build awareness and build that knowledge of MMC within the industry.
And why is that important now, Pat?
I think it's critically important. There are many challenges within the construction industry in Ireland, and I guess it's not just within Ireland. It's a global challenge. We have issues in terms of material costs, supply chain security, sustainability. Sustainability is a major element in terms of reducing carbon emissions, reducing the raw materials. So as we're moving into modern methods of construction, so we're trying to optimize the physical aspects of construction, improve productivity, reduce the carbon footprint, and essentially do more with less, so to speak.
Efficiency across the construction sector, as well as chronic labour shortages and skills shortages, that seems to be a global issue. I mean, is Ireland disproportionately impacted?
I don't necessarily see we're disproportionately impacted. I think it's as you mentioned, it is global, and I think it's become more chronic post-pandemic. I think that we have to move, I suppose, increase skills and knowledge within the industry, and that physical labour aspect also. So how do we optimize construction activities without the same levels of labour resources, perhaps as we had in the boom times in Ireland, and how do we build that efficiency?
Is it now from outside the construction industry? It seems to me that the conversation is really growing around offsite and other modern methods of construction over the past 2 or 3 years. Has the pandemic driven that, or what were the factors in play maybe prior to the pandemic?
I think prior to the pandemic, I think if we kind of probably go back a number of years within the UK, I think the Mark Farmer report, Modernise or Die, really began to ask questions about productivity within the industry, particularly within the UK. But again, it can be applied to Ireland, it can be applied to any other country. So we can see that the productivity within the construction sector, actually in Ireland, is probably one of the lowest of all sectors within the Irish economy. So we really need to improve that. So I think we begin to ask questions about, do we need to improve that productivity? How do we increase the levels of output within the sector, using less, as we mentioned, less resources in terms of human resources. But again, I suppose the Irish government more recently began to look at this, and on the back of a very good report from EY and TUD looking at productivity within the Irish construction sector, and then took that on board as part of the new construction sector group looking at productivity across the sector. So we now see actually lots of innovation movements towards kind of addressing increasing MMC within the sector.
One of the things that always comes up when we talk about some of the challenges across the built environment in Ireland is an issue of scale. So, when we look at the MMC sector within the wider construction industry in Ireland, what size is that sector?
I think we have to look at MMC across all, I suppose, categories. When we look at MMC, it's not just volumetric modular or pods, so to speak. We can look at it, say, precast concrete. We can various other elements. So I think it's quite a lot of different industries. There, I think we're at a certain level of scale, particularly at the lower end, I suppose, of where we would see real improvements that MMC would make. Certainly, we're not there at scale yet in terms of volumetric pods and modular units, but certainly I think we're beginning to move that. So I think there's a certain level of maturity, and in fact the CIF have published a very good report as part of the construction sector group just before Christmas last year, looking at that within the industry. So that would be a very good pointer to look at.
So what's the purpose then of bringing together all the players across MMC in Ireland? Why is now the right time to be, I suppose, combining a voice and have these different bodies or these different companies, have they ever worked before? Have they ever collaborated before?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the purpose really of bringing everybody together is we have a collective voice, and we have a greater voice in numbers. And I think we can really start promoting the various aspects of MMC and the benefits of MMC, and really then bring the expertise as a collective unit to the various regulatory bodies. We can have a greater impact and do things correctly, I guess, in a sense, in terms of certification, regulatory environment. What are the correct regulatory aspects of MMC? Do we need to measure up and combine those with building regulation compliance, etc.? So I think it's using that collective, collaborative voice in really moving forward in the industry. And I think a lot of good companies are actually here today. A lot of Irish indigenous companies here today, really up there amongst the best in Europe, and I think we can see that. So we're trying to build on that strength as a collective unit.
Very good. That's a good time to remind any listeners that have just joined us that apologies for any sound quality issues. Pat is joining us from the offsite show as part of Construction Week in the UK, and we really appreciate you joining us from there. And obviously it's great to hear that there's an Irish contingent over there at Construction Week UK. But also, I presume, excuse me, you're on the lookout for maybe interesting new technologies that can be adopted across the Irish ecosystem.
Absolutely. We have some very good examples here of MMC from digital concrete printing, which could be very innovative within the Irish sector. And we'd be looking for any industry, any companies, any developers, any members that procure buildings, come on board with us. We have an inaugural meeting on the 16th of May. Register on our website, www.mmcireland.ie, and just find out exactly what we're all about and what benefits we can bring to your organization.
Very good. And before we let you go, I know you've touched on some of them there, but you might just very quickly take us through the overarching, say, objectives of the body so people know. And we will, of course, put a link up to the website, which is www.mmcireland.ie. And I know that C&W O'Brien, together with Evolution Innovation, will be hosting an inaugural meeting that's an online meeting.
That's an online meeting.
Excellent. On the 16th of May. So what we'll do is we'll put a link to that in the materials here for the radio show and podcast. But just in terms of what potential members can expect, what are the objectives? What are you trying to achieve, Pat?
I suppose we have essentially 4 main objectives of the body. One would be to build knowledge and awareness of MMC in Ireland. What is MMC? What various categories of MMC there are, and what are the benefits and challenges of MMC? Um, Again, we want to promote a regulatory environment which begins to address testing, certification, and quality. Build that testing uh, uh, environment within Ireland so that companies and manufacturers can get their products tested within Ireland. We can bring it to the market, and we have appropriate certification schemes. We work with the likes of NSAI in order to tease out the particular problems and streamline from a product manufacturer's point of view, getting the product to the market. And then also from a specifier's point of view, understand what aspects of those certification, what they actually mean. We also then looking to support and foster access for members to the MMC market. So if you're a small to medium enterprise business and that you have a product that you'd like to try and get onto the market, where do you go for support? You know, what do you need to do? What supports are there? So we can bring that knowledge to those companies. And then lastly, we advocate on behalf of the MMC industry. You know, we need to have a collective voice. We need to have collaboration. And I think together, that one voice advocating for the industry, both from a manufacturer's and designer's point of view, I think we'll then begin to really tease out, the, let's be honest, the challenges and then the benefits of MMC.
Very good. Pat, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. I can hear that things are really kicking off behind you there at the offsite show as part of Construction Week UK. So I appreciate you taking the time there. I can see, because we're doing this via video as well, I can see what's going on in the background, and I'd love to be there myself today. So definitely share any really innovative stuff on LinkedIn so we can all get the benefit of it. But thank you so much for joining again. That's mmcireland.ie, and the inaugural meeting is the 16th of May. We will, of course, share the sign-up link as part of our documentation here. And that's it from us on Breaking Ground on iProperty Radio for this week. My thanks to Pat Kerwin, Head of MMC Delivery at C&W O'Brien Architects, founding members of MMC Ireland together with Evolution Innovation. You can get in touch with the show on social media at iProperty Radio or email hello@iPropertyRadio.com. My thanks to the Hear Me Roar production team and to Luke Delaney on sound for Dublin South FM. Until next time, thank you for listening.